Hello and welcome back to my book club. Today we will be covering Arc 2, Insinuation of Worm by Wildbow. So, what happened? First off, Taylor is confronted by Danny in the morning after her arrival. She tells him that she was out walking late at night and he believes her. Later, she goes to school, and PHO is introduced, Parahumans Online, as being half wiki and half message board. On it, the Undersiders, still unnamed, are described in greater detail, sans Regent. Gru can control darkness, create and control some sort of darkness. Tattletale has little information on her, Regent has no information on her, and Bitch, or Hellhound, is able to make dogs big and monstrous. On PHO, Taylor notices that Tattletale has reached out to her through an anonymous message board. Towards the end of class, Mr. Gladly tries reaching out to Taylor, but it's a token effort, as when he notices her being bullied in the hallway outside of classroom, he does not attempt to intervene. Taylor confirms a meeting with the Undersiders later in an attempt to ferret information out of them to give to Armsmaster. She does this at the public library, which Tattletale notes in her message her confirmation message to Taylor. Finally, the Undersiders meet up with Taylor, and they are finally named. They give Taylor $2,000 and offer to include her in their crew. They also reveal their true names, being Gru is Brian, Tattletale is Lisa, Regent is Alec, and Bitch is Rachel. Taylor agrees with the idea of being a double agent and heads to their loft. Once there, they talk for a while, until Rachel arrives. Once Rachel arrives, she attacks Taylor for seemingly no reason, and Taylor attacks back before storming off. As she storms off, Brian corners Taylor and convinces her to return to the loft, mainly to receive first aid, but once there, Taylor agrees to stay with the crew. She calls her father to let her know she is with friends. So, what are some of the themes and motifs that I noticed? Once again, bullying is a big theme, popping up in the first couple chapters where Sophia, Emma, and Madison torment Taylor. Bullying is bad. Once again, I don't have much more to say on this. Another theme that pops up towards the latter end of the arc is might makes right. Specifically, the idea that decisions are decided via might. It is stated that Rachel has attacked previous capes the Undersiders have tried to recruit, and it is implied that Taylor fighting back is what makes Rachel accept Taylor as a new member of the group. Furthermore, in the interlude, Glory Girl, one of the local capes, maims a Empire grunt pretty heavily, and it is directly stated that she has done so several times in the past, with her seeming to not quite enjoy it, but believe it is justified because of their actions. What are the main character's goals / driving force? Once again, Taylor wants to be a hero, but this arc, she's also given the new goal of wanting to infiltrate the Undersiders, which she seems to have a successful start to. How is the world characterized? The world is characterized mainly as insulated, with most villains mentioned being small-time and or local in nature, but at least so far. I suspect that will change as the story progresses. It's once again apathetic. People refuse to intervene unless it benefits them, or unless they feel they are obligated to. For instance, Gladly makes an attempt to reach out to Taylor, presumably because he is a teacher and he feels it is his duty, but he does not try to intervene when he sees her being bullied. The world is very conniving. The Undersiders and Taylor both rely on misinformation and deception to accomplish their goals. Honesty is not pride is not valued as a virtue. It looks like it's very aggressive. The world that is. Rachel establishes dominance through fighting, and Glory Girl has maimed a half dozen people. It seems like this world is one that has a lot of conflict in it, which is also something talked about in the last arc when it mentioned that were a lot of villains during the 90s before heroes came in a couple years later. It sets up this expectation that villains are the standard and heroes are the exception, if that makes sense. So, miscellaneous notes. First of all, I'm keeping track of every time a villain or cape really is mentioned and eventually brought up later. So for this first two chapters, that's Uber and Leet, Spitfire, Circus and Fault Line, and Lure Girl and Panacea, and Coil, and Squealer and Trainwreck. There's also Pestilence, which is mentioned, but he's a non-character. He doesn't even appear on the extra characters or the extra parahumans list on the wiki. Neither does Stain, who is also mentioned in the interlude. So Uber and Leet, Spitfire, Circus, Fault Line are all villains. Fault Line is described as being mercenary, and as we later learn, she is more a rogue than a villain, but she is still legally a villain. Glory Girl and Panacea are introduced in the interlude. They are both speaking characters. Glory Girl seems to have a standard flying brick package. Panacea has the ability to heal other people at a touch. She is directly stated to not be able, or to be unwilling to work on brains, as well as being able to do other things, such as turning people's skin different colors and similar alterations, meaning she is just a full-on biotinker. That's what she is, and it is coming from a perspective of having only read a lot of fan fiction, this is very surprising to me because it is usually treated as a huge deal that Panacea is capable of doing stuff other than just healing, and in this chapter, Vicky straight up taunts a grunt with this fact. So, yeah. Coil is introduced as being one of the players in the Bay. He is not mentioned to be one of the top powers, but he is a known quantity to Glory Girl, unlike characters such as Squealer and Trainwreck, who are listed amongst others that Glory Girl and would not have thought of first for who's going to want to take up what's the word? Territory in the docks now that Lung has been captured. Interesting enough, the Archer's Bridge merchants aren't mentioned. By the time the treaty at Summers Rock happens, they are a gang, but as of yet, they are not known to, at the very least, Panacea/Lore Girl and or the Empire Grunt they were interrogating, which is very interesting to me. Because as many fanfics will state, the merchants are one of the big three gangs starting off. But this is in April, months after Taylor and gets her powers, and therefore when most fanfics start, and yet the merchants seemingly aren't a unified gang yet. Very interesting. That would be all for this week. I wanted to thank everyone for listening. I think I have gotten into the groove of this a little bit more, so hopefully I'll be able to stick with doing once a week uploads for a while, but I reserve the right to switch to bi-weekly if I get burnt out. Thank you.